Okay, so what I'm doing here is got my watch collection out. Some of them need winding. You've got to wind these watches every once in a while, otherwise they start to gum up a little bit. So just taking this opportunity to have a play with a live feed, which I've never done before, a proper one. So I'm just having a bit of a fun with that. And if anyone's watching, show them some of my watch collection, which is quite random. I've been collecting watches for a couple of years now, just trying to find deals on eBay and usually a cheaper end of the market. I'll find something, usually clean it up and keep hold of it. So this was the first vintage watch that I purchased. This little Bolivar. I think it cost me something like £17. And I gave it a good clean up. Luckily it's working really nicely, keeping really good time. And I bought this one because I was looking at what vintage watch should I buy first. Obviously you want something like a Rolex or a Tudor or something like that, or a Longines. They were all out of reach of something I really wanted to make my first purchase. And it just occurred to me, I was watching some old Roger Moore Saint programs, and I wondered what watch he was wearing in them. So I did a little bit of research, and in the Saint, in the 1960 Saints, the black and white programs that he did, he was often wearing a Bolivar. So this isn't the exact one. So after I found that out, I thought I'll see if I can find a vintage Bolivar, something like Roger Moore was wearing in the Saint. And it took quite a while, but eventually I tracked down that one, which is similar to the ones he was wearing. So that was my first vintage watch, and I got lucky with this one. It's working really well. So I've had this a good couple of years. I mean, it was a little bit grotty. I've cleaned it up, polished it up, and I put it on this NATO style strap. So I've just given that a little bit of a wind. As I said, I've got the watch collection out. They're not all mechanical watches, but this is the state of my collection at the moment. So there's a real variety of stuff. That pile there is stuff that doesn't work, that will go onto eBay. So these ones here, I sell maybe one or two a month, and I'll chuck those back on eBay. They're kind of like beyond my repair. I can't repair them. I'm not a watch repairer, really. I can only really clean them up. They're either working or they're not working. Those ones, yeah, they're not working. These ones are all pretty much working. So these are probably some of the better ones I've got. Who's that? Sorry, someone's Coldplay's asking what price for the Rolex looking one. Oh, so do you mean this one? That's a Tudor, if you're talking about that. Ooh. That's a 1947 Tudor Oyster. That one I purchased for, I think it was like £300, and that's working really nicely. Sorry, Coldplay, seems you said goodbye. So I'm new to this live stream, so but if you are still watching, or if anyone else is still watching, yeah, that one is the Tudor Oyster, which is basically made by Rolex in 1947. Rolex were making Tudors. The same people who were making the Rolex were making the Tudors. Now it's a completely separate factory. But at this stage, these were off-the-shelf kind of movements, but they were put together by the Rolex technicians. So this one It's called the Tudor Oyster. The oyster is because it has a screw down crown, which is a bit strange because it's a wind up watch. So every time you wind the watch up or change the time, you've got to unscrew the crown to wind it up. So the thread is a bit of a weak point. So because of that, unless I'm wearing it, I'll leave it unscrewed. So then all I need to do is wind it without having to unscrew the crown, which says Oyster on it. Ooh. That's pretty much the first use. And when the first calling of a Rolex or Tudor watch by Oyster, you can see it on the dial there. And this was quite a good deal, I think. I paid about 300 for that. It had been polished up a little bit, the case. Came with this aftermarket kind of Jubilee style strap. And I've put it on a leather strap since, but it doesn't look as good. This bracelet actually doesn't look too bad on it, so I'm going to keep it on this bracelet for now. It's got fantastic patina on the face. You've got some kind of speckle in there, and some of the old radioactive lume is missing, but there is still a bit, and you've got this really cool red second hand. So yeah, that's probably my most expensive watch actually. I don't know what it's worth now. It's worth what everyone's willing to pay for it. Some quite interesting watches. Probably the second watch I bought that of any kind of real interest was this Tissot Seastar automatic, like 1970s. Let's give that a... So I kind of opened all these boxes up just so I can give the mechanical ones a little bit of a wind up, because it's good to keep them going. You shouldn't leave them not working for too long. So usually every couple of weeks I will give everything a bit of a wind up. So I'm just using this opportunity to have a bit of fun, do a live stream, show anyone who's watching some of the watches I've got. And there's that Tissot Seastar, which I bought off eBay for about 20 odd pounds. This was in a bit of a state. I've given this a really good polish up. The crystal was quite scratched, and the case itself was quite scratched, but I just kind of hand polished it up, and I bought a new strap for it. This works perfectly. Really lovely watch. And that was a good buy. I was kind of beginner's luck. I was just really getting into vintage watches, and this one came up on eBay because I've tried finding another one since, and it's been a good year or so, and I've not seen one for that price. They all make, usually at least 80, 90, 100 plus. This one has a very interesting movement in it. It has it's shared the movement. The automatic movement in this is also shared in the Omegas. Can't remember the exact number of the movement, but it's the same as the Omega Seamaster movement. So that's why this watch itself is a bit more interesting, and it's got a more higher quality movement to it. There's a little lesion. That automatic there, that didn't cost me much, like a few pounds, £10. Beautiful condition. Really nice quality. Yeah, off it goes. I did buy a new strap for that because the strap was in terrible condition. The watch was in good condition, just needed a little bit of a polish up, but the strap wasn't so good. So, but you can buy a leather strap from AliExpress for kind of £4 or £5. That's generally where I get them from. They don't take too long to arrive. So I've got some Invictas, which are kind of like my daily watches. Got a Pro Diver, and the first one I bought was that Speedway on the top left-hand side. So because I've got a couple of Invictas, obviously looking into the brand, I found that the Invicta brand actually predates Rolex. So when they were a proper Swiss brand, they're owned by an American company now. and they're out of America. That's why a lot of the Invictas are very brash things. They do a lot of kind of homage, Rolex homage type watches, but they also do some really big, brash, chunky watches. So this one here is an original Invicta. So I was on the lookout for one, and this little one came up. So let's give that a wind. It runs a little bit fast, this one. It wasn't really running at all when I first got it, but a little bit of fiddling around, cleaned it up, and it has actually started working. Yeah, so yeah, I think that was about £11 or something from eBay, this one. On the original strap, I think. So it's just interesting. I wanted an original Invicta from the days when they were in Switzerland and it was a proper Swiss manufacturer of watches. You know, the movement inside there looks nice quality. And there are people who do collect these original Invictas. So I think that was, again, quite a good buy. I like the second hand on that with the kind of arrow, the red arrow, second hand. Another one which I'm really happy with. I wanted the Longines for a long time, just to put in my collection. I wanted a vintage one, and again, if you look at eBay, Longines, they all really make good money. And this one came up, and all working nicely. Haven't done much to this at all. It's pretty much the condition in which it came in. And I don't know if I paid too much for this, but I paid, I think, £80 for this. But it's got a beautiful movement, a lot of patina on the dial. And it's working really well. For a little while in the summer, it didn't want to work for a little while, then it started again. So I don't know what happened. But it's I dropped a tiny bit of lighter fluid on a jewel and it just kicked back into life, and it's been working perfectly ever since. So it probably needs a decent service. The oil's probably drying up underneath the jewel. But on the whole, it's working well now. That's a beautiful little watch. A little bit too small to wear compared to, you know, that's my Pagani GMT, which I'm kind of using as my daily watch. And that's about 30mm dial. So it is a bit of a small watch, a bit dainty, but it's very nice. Got this beautiful kind of coin edge to it. The edge of that is kind of milled, a bit hard to see in the light. But yeah, it's got nice details. And I love that emblem, that Longines winged emblem. So stylish. So another really interesting and rare watch that I've got. Not the Elvis one, that is rare. Not the General Lee watch, which doesn't work. But this one is a Smith's Astrolon. That's got a maintenance-free movement. It's kind of like plastic parts. So this one, in conjunction with Tissot, they come out with a Smiths. You'll find Tissot ones. They're exactly the same, pretty much exactly the same. But this one is a Smiths one, but it has the same movement in it. This one I cleaned up quite a bit, polished it up. It was a bit scratched up, and you know, giving it quite a good clean up and polish. And again, I bought this really well. Can't remember exactly what I paid for it, but it was something like £12. I've got a video on it. Maybe less, maybe £8. It wasn't very much. Good, nice, big, chunky watch. And it's kind of cleaned up and polished up pretty nicely. And when you look at the back, it's got a clear plastic, so you can see the movement. So this was when quartz watches were just coming out. They kind of come out with this watch at the wrong time. So it's like a maintenance-free watch, which is meant to make watches a lot more kind of reliable and almost like a throwaway item. Swatch kind of took this on, but then of course digital watches came out, LCD digital watches came out, like Bulova did a kind of digital watch. So these fell out of favour, and you can't do anything with them. They either work or they don't. This one does work. You can wind it, but the catch, sometimes it wants to catch, sometimes it doesn't. Let's pull that in first. So usually I find if I kind of go backwards and forwards a little bit, yeah, it's winding now. And it'll wind. So it's a little bit temperamental, but it usually works. And then once it does work, it keeps good time. It's a nice watch. So that's pretty rare. That was a good buy. And again, I don't know, you see them for lots of different prices, but it's probably worth £100 plus, I would say. So that was a good buy. Pretty pleased with that one. Some of my other acquisitions, as I say, that big pile of watches I got down there, which didn't work out so well, even though I've cleaned them up and put new straps on some of them. They'll be going back onto eBay. They don't work. I'm not going to keep them in my collection. I've had a bit of fun cleaning them up, but they can go back on eBay at some stage when I get around to it. Let's pop that back. The only pocket watch I've got is this Omega. This one cost me £60. Again, I've given it a good clean up and polish. And it is working. It's silver plated, it's not solid silver. It was in quite a state, to be honest, when I first got this. But it's come up. It was a good fun cleaning that up. Does that come up? I forget how it opens. Hang on, the front opens, isn't it? Yeah. Got a beautiful crown. Now this does open, this other door. Should do. The thing is, I've just cut my fingernails, so I've got 0 fingernails to open it up. What is it doing? Problem is the metal's cold as well. Yeah. It's been a while since I've had this open. Yeah, I need to get a screwdriver on that. It's really tight. But another one of my favourite watches I bought is I was after an Omega. And that one came up and I bought it not working. Omega DeVille, heavy gold plate. So I paid £80 for it not working. And I thought maybe, maybe it's a battery or some terminal. And the movement was pretty clean and tidy, but it was actually missing a piece. I didn't realise until I took it to the jewellers. And what I've had done is they've put a generic modern quartz movement in there. So now it works. So for a £70, I think the watch was 80 for a 70, so like £150, I've at least got a nice working Omega which I can wear and use. So I'm really pleased with that, because again, you'll be lucky to find one that's working for less than 200, 300, especially in that condition. It's got very good condition, gold plated strap. A lot of them just have a leather strap or whatever, but that's got the original bracelet with the Omega on the clasp. It's a real classy looking watch, and the gold, although it's plated, it looks really flash. Give it a bit of a polish up, it really does look good. Alright, so I'll have to look at that in a minute. Yeah, that's one of the original Dukes of Hazzard digital watches. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. I put a new battery in, it doesn't work, so it's too old. Something's obviously gone wrong with it at some stage. But apart from that, it's pretty mint, and it's got the box and the papers, I think, with it. Original kind of instructions and whatnot. Original box. Don't think they're worth a lot, but it's interesting. It's one of the original ones. So I was a big fan of the Dukes of Hazzard when I was a kid. So it was good to, when I saw that come up, wasn't a lot of money, purchased that. Now, where is it? The latest watch I bought is this Buller, which is an automatic, what they call a jump watch. So it's like an early digital watch. Again, it was in quite a state, given a good clean up polish. And it does work if you give it a good shake, it'll start ticking, but it needs, there you go, it's just starting to go a bit. So if you give it a good shake, it'll work for a little bit, then it stops. So it needs a service. But it is kind of basically working. Not something I'd probably wear anyway. And when I first got it, it wasn't working at all. But after I've given it a good old clean up, it's kind of like sprung into life. And I paid, what did I pay for this? About £15. And these do make quite good money. And that is a nice shape one. It's quite a thick watch. So being automatic as well. So again, I think a good buy, because I've been chasing one of these for ages, and the jump watches, for some reason, they always go for lots of money. There's always interest in them. Okay, it doesn't want to work anymore. So I finally got one, even though it's not working particularly well, but it's a good example. I'm sure just a service and that'll be working great. And that was the first Buller I got. Now this was just a few pounds. Really cool, 1970s, chunky. I've done a video on this one, so I will probably do a proper video on that one. Get the back off and show the movement, that type of thing. This one is just a wind-up one. Keeps perfect time. Gave it a good clean up and polish. I like this. It's so chunky, and it's quite a good size watch. I think it's like 40mm across. So it's it looks good even today. Let's give that a bit of a wind. There's me saying it works. Let's make sure it does work. So I've got this thing on a tripod. And it is the crappiest tripod you could probably buy. It doesn't want the phone to be this way, it wants to be the other way. It's trying to fall over. There's a bit of patina on a dial, a little bit of kind of crazing, I guess. But the case itself, the brush stainless steel, everything is so good. It just looks so 1970s. It's totally of its kind of era. Yeah, I think that was a good deal. Another one, which again, very recently, that came up. This is an automatic, isn't it? So again, gave that a good clean up. This was pretty grotty, to be honest. and that's working perfect, keeping perfect time, dates working. The whole thing was a bit gummed up. I just found, give it a good clean up and just started playing around with it and just started working nicely. So there's another one. I haven't done a video on this yet, but I'll probably do a short video on that one. Get the back off, show the movement, because it's a nice quality Swiss watch. Carronade, isn't it? Carronade, that's the name of that one. Yeah, I think this cost me like £5, something like that. I can't remember all the prices on this, but it wasn't a lot of money. Did very well on that. Still on the original strap. I cleaned that strap up. It's coming back to me now. This thing was filthy. It was absolutely filthy. I had to use degreaser spray I've got and a toothbrush. Get that strap nicely cleaned up. I gave the case a really good polish up and gave the crystal a really good polish up. It's come up. It's come up pretty well. It just needs a good shake to get the automatic movement wound up properly. This is a Russian watch. Pobeda, I think it's called Pobeda. In terrible state, but it works. Again, just paid a couple of quid. I wanted a Russian watch in my collection. I got some Eastern German watches I'll show in a second. But this is my first Russian one. Probably won't get another one. I just fancied a Russian watch. As you can see, it's really scratched up, and I've cleaned this up a lot. I put a new strap on it. But it's definitely not in A1 condition. It's in proper used condition. Looking at the watch, you would think it was pretty ancient. Looking at the style of it and whatnot. But I think it's probably 1980s. It might be 1970s, but the Russians, they kind of kept these old styles going a lot longer than we were. But if I remember rightly, this is working perfectly. Yeah, off we go. So not really worth much, is it? But interesting. I just wanted one in the collection. This is a genuine Elvis Presley memorabilia watch. 1977, you can see the date at the bottom. Original signed by himself. No, well, it's got some signature. So this was some kind of official product, although it's made in, is it Hong Kong? Yeah, Hong Kong, it says at the bottom, made in Hong Kong. But it's a mechanical watch. Keeps perfect time. Again, this was absolutely filthy. This was a real grotty watch, which I've polished up, got all the crud off it, cleaned up the strap, and now it's come up, I think, pretty good. And that again, that didn't cost me a lot of money. This watch, just a few pounds, and that is worth a lot more. You know, you could probably get £70 for that just because it is one of the original Elvis Presley memorabilia watches. So occasionally you can get a good deal on eBay. There was terrible photos of it. I don't even think it was showing as working. Just got lucky with that one. I like that. That's a bit of fun. Not that I'm a massive Elvis fan or anything like that, but obviously it's interesting history. And it's not the best quality watch in the world, but kind of typical 1970s. It's got a bit of strength to it. It's you know, it's not terrible. So, where are we? That was the first East German watch I bought. This one is in collaboration with East Germany and Tunisia. So I did a video about this one, researched a little bit about this watch. They would give these out to dignitaries and things like that. So East Germany had some kind of association with Tunisia, and they called this the Bitunia. So that's because it's a collaboration between a place in East Germany that begins with bit, can't remember its name, and then you've got Tunia, which is like Tunisia. So it's a Bitunia 23, the day that, so East German. Again, giving it a really good polish up. It was pretty grotty, but it's another one of those ones which actually is working perfectly and keeping good time. And this was a great deal. This was just a few pounds. It didn't cost me very much money at all. So hopefully give that a wind up. So obviously East Germany, you've got the Berlin Wall. They were making watches in East Germany, heavily, usually I think from factories from Russia. Maybe they're assembled in East Germany, this type of thing. This Bituna, I think, came from the Ruler factory in East Germany, which I've got some Ruler watches as well. So there's that one, and then there's a Ruler one. I've got a couple. I've got one here which I'm going to put on eBay. That was absolutely mullered. This watch was absolutely mullered. I paid a couple of quid or something for this. Really, really chewed up. This East German Ruler. These are collectible. People do collect them, but it's a bit knackered. It's hard to turn the hands. It's all feeling weird. Doesn't really wind. Does it wind? It's kind of. Sometimes you give it a shake, it'll start working, but it's going back on eBay. It just doesn't really. It's too far gone. It does. Sometimes it works. Go on, work. But yeah. But you couldn't. So this crystal on this was so obscure with scuffs and scratches. You couldn't hardly see the face. It was that bad. So I spent some time polishing it up with whitening toothpaste. And really giving it a good clean up. And it is like, it's as mint as it's ever going to be. But unfortunately, it's just not working. It's definitely got some issues. And the other one I got, this ruler here, East German 1970s. This one works, but it's either too fast or too slow, I can't remember. And again, it wasn't in particularly good condition, but I've given it a really good clean and polish up. I always do this to all my watches. I don't like grotty watches. You know, you're buying something that somebody else has worn on their wrist. It's got bits of their old dead skin in it and stuff like that. So I will usually take the straps off and give them a good scrub up with some warm soapy water. Polish up as much as I can, just by hand, you know, nothing crazy usually. And get the thing looking as good as I can get it, really, which is part of the fun. Yeah, I think this one's running fast, but it's running. I'm not going to bother getting it serviced. It's not worth it for the money, but I want to keep it in my collection because I wanted a half decent East German watch, so I've got a couple now. But this other one, I think that can maybe go to someone else. Yeah, so it's ticking now. I've had this sometimes where it just worked for quite a long time, and other times it just doesn't want to know. So it's kind of a bit temperamental. All right, so that's that one. Another one which will be going onto eBay. And I really did clean this one up. This was really scuffed up, scratched up. I've cleaned the crystal, the face, because it's like a clam, comes apart. It's a, what's this called? A baby bend, is it? I can't remember what it's called. Oh no, wristband. So this watch here is the same watch that James Dean wore. So it's the same type of watch that James Dean wore in a couple of his movies or something. On the whole, this watch kind of works. When it wants to, then it stops. So again, it needs a service. Is it working now? Yeah. Yeah, it's going. But now it stopped. So yeah, it's another one that kind of works and kind of doesn't work. It just needs a service. In fact, it was working pretty well. It's just got worse. So I'll pop that onto eBay. Probably be the next one I put on. I just need a bit of a wind up. Yeah, I mean, it's working. You can see the second hand going round, but then it'll stop. Yeah. Yeah, a bit temperamental, so that can go. So there's the moon swatch I bought. That's a genuine moon swatch. Paid 155, absolutely mint box papers. I've got it's only been worn about 2-3 times. And yeah, I like that. I wanted a moon swatch, a proper one for my collection. Didn't want to pay £240 retail, so I was looking for one that was like as new. It's even got the receipt from Carnaby Street swatch shop. And I've got a couple of other swatches, ironies, a couple of cheap ironies I bought. But that middle one is rare. That's a, what's it called? Game Starter. I've got that box and papers. My friend had this one. And this is why I wanted to buy it, because I saw his and thought, that's interesting. And he'd had it for years. This one come up literally as new. I think it'd been worn a couple of times. I paid £70 for that. So full box and papers. I'm just keeping that because it is rare. They don't do this exact one. And there's another one there. That's not rare. These were just like a tenner or something. A couple of little Citizens. Got a Citizen Eagle there. So that's an automatic. That's the first Citizen I bought. So it's Eagle 7. So this is very similar to the Seiko 5. So Citizen came out with the Eagle 7 back in the 70s, I think. So it's got a automatic movement, 21 joules. That's a really nice watch, actually. You've got a day date. I think I paid like 12 quid or something for this. Not a lot of money, maybe £10. Again, gave it a really good polish up, and this one works perfectly. So it must be quite a nice little movement in there. It does look good quality. These earlier Citizens are pretty good quality, I would say. I have worn that from time to time, because with all these watches, I don't wear all of them. That is a Citizen Power Water, so that's quite interesting. Paid very little for this, a few pounds. Another one I've given a good clean up and polish. It was pretty kind of scratched up and things. But this is an original Citizen Power Water, so they're quite collectible, which I didn't know. I kind of found out more about this watch. It's an automatic, that's why I'm giving it a shake. Yeah, there we go. So that's quite a collectible Citizen. Nice quality, Japanese movement, kind of Japanese made. It's got, is this the one with the interesting? Yeah, no, I thought I'm getting it muddled up with another watch. Yeah. So that was a good buy. Okay, so here's another Citizen. This one is a quartz, gold plated. Paid just a few pounds for this. It's absolutely mint. It was filthy. There was a lot of dirt in this bracelet. I remember when I cleaned this out, the bowl went really black. I couldn't believe how much crud was inside each kind of piece of the bracelet. Just had black. Another reason, always clean. You know, something on the surface, you think, oh, it looks quite clean. The amount of crap that came out of that was unbelievable. But now it's come up like almost like new. I mean, it's got a bit of wear to it. It's like a 1980s watch. I quite like this kind of style. It reminds me, I used to work in Ratner's in the 90s, and we would sell this type of style of watch. Very yuppie looking, executive type style, I guess, but I quite like that. And that's a good, you know, good quality, very nice condition. Is it worth collecting? I don't know, but it's certainly cheap enough to buy, and it's wearable. I have worn that a couple of times. The first one I got of that kind of shape was this one, which is a Seiko Kronos. This one actually has a screw down crown. Again, paid, oh, I can't remember, a few pounds for this, maybe £12. Gold plated. It's got quite heavy gold plate. Original bracelet. There is a bit of wear here and there, and that one's working. This one's older. This really is 1970s. I put a new battery in it. I think that's about it. But the crown screws down because it's should be waterproof. I shouldn't be doing this on the thing. Hang on. Should take it off. It's been lazy. It's got that wave emblem on the back. Right. So it's finely screwed down. So if you just join me, hello. I'm new to this live feed. I'm just showing my vintage watches off. Well, not even showing them off. I'm actually just making sure they're working. So I thought I'd do a live stream. I've got boxes of watches, not all vintage. I collect them off eBay, if you just join me. And I'm just making sure they're kind of working, giving them a wind up and just talking a little bit about them. Just pop this Seiko Kronos back. To anyone who's just joined, these are some of the older vintage ones. I've got Longines, Tudor, 1947, Boulevard. This one cost like a couple of quid off eBay. What a cool little watch though. It's called Sunray. A bit beaten up, proper patina. Look at that crown. I mean, that is pretty beaten up, but that is 1940s. Really lovely, good quality movement inside of this. And it's keeping exact time. That was just a couple of quid off eBay. Yes, it did need a bit of a clean up. Come with this Fixoflex. I think it's a Fixoflex strap, this one. Cool little Swiss watch. The Cyticon. interesting crystal. It's kind of faceted. Really interesting strap. Very 1970s. Yeah, this was just a few quid as well. I think this one kind of works when it wants to work. Oh, there we go, we're off. Nice condition, interesting, not particularly high quality. I think they were trying to mimic Citizen, perhaps. Don't know with that name. It's a deluxe. As soon as it says deluxe on it, they're usually poorer quality Swiss watches. So those are the East German ones I was talking about, Citizen ones. I've got a couple of Casios now. I've got the Back to the Future Casio calculator watch. And of course the most famous Casio everyone has to have if you collect watches is the F91W. That's a brand new one from Argos. They're £10. So I've worn that quite a bit. Although I've got to be honest, because it's such a small watch, I kind of need reading glasses to read the digital readout, so I don't wear it that often. But I've worn it abroad occasionally when I don't want to mess around taking watches off to go through the scanners and things. You can just keep that on. It never sets anything off. And this little one here, which I'll probably do a quick video on at some stage. This little Casio, this cost me just a few pounds, and it's very rare Casio quartz in this kind of gold-plated dress watch. I just bought it because it was interesting. I hadn't seen one before like that, and it's pretty much mint. I guess it's kind of like 1980s. It wasn't working, but I popped a new battery in there and it's working. So that was good. And I've got some Paganis. That's the Nibosi President that I've done the video on. My Seiko. That's the first watch, well, not the first watch, the first proper watch I ever got. I've had this for absolute years, probably nearly 20 years. So when that battery went, which I've got a new battery in now, I've cleaned it up, that's when I bought an Invicta, because I thought, let's have a different watch for a change. That kind of got me into watches. So I bought, the first one was this one, Invicta Speedway. So I bought this one, then realised I can't really read the bloody time on it because it's white dial, white hands. So then I bought Invicta Pro Diver. I've since swapped out the bezel to a ceramic one. Got a video on that because it didn't fit properly. I had to use a Dremel to kind of cut that bezel down a bit so it fit. I think it looks better than the aluminium kind of cheap looking one that was in there that was getting scratched up. Then I bought this kind of Air King homage Pagani, which is fantastic automatic. And the one I've got now is a Pagani Design GMT, which was a Pepsi bezel, and I've took that out and I've put in a ceramic Batman bezel, which has made it a Batgirl because the bracelet is Jubilee. So a Batman is one where you have an oyster style bracelet. The Batgirl is one where it's like a Jubilee bracelet with the black and white bezel on there. So that's pretty much it for the live stream, I think. Just a couple of watches there. One of the that's a brand new swatch papers which I bought, and this thing here, which is an Eagle Moss. So they used to give away, or you buy a magazine, it would have a watch in it. These come up from time to time. It's a field watch. It's just a cheap watch. I think I paid like £2 for it, but couldn't resist. So those ones will be on eBay at some stage because I'm not going to keep those. These I'm going to keep for now, although I do change my collection as I go along. And there will be new watches joining it, no doubt, as and when I can find the deals. That's one. This, okay, so there's, just before I go, this one I paid like £3 for, and it's a surf watch, a quartz surf watch. Really chunky little thing. Got a very good Velcro bracelet. And I used to have a surf watch like this. And the good thing about these is when you're surfing, or I was windsurfing, you can put that Velcro bracelet around your wetsuit. So it's perfect. So I wanted one of these because I might finish learning how to kite surf. Maybe next year, if I can buy another kite, I might finish learning how to kite surf. I used to windsurf. I gave that up quite a few years ago. But that will be a good surfing watch. It's a proper kind of surfing watch. So for £3, I had to put a new battery in it, and it sprung into life, and it's really good. That was a good deal. And that one's a little Skagen. Had a metal strap, but I broke the metal strap. Long story. I put this NATO style strap on it. It's annoying because it's absolutely mint, but it's got a stupid adjustment on the metal strap, and it got kind of caught up. And there was no way back. I had to kind of force it apart with grips and pliers and God knows what. So yeah, because it had the straps are titanium, and that's a titanium case on that as well. Nice watch, very slim, very kind of Bauhaus looking, Danish. Yeah, architects looking watch. There's that Buller. Okay guys, thanks for watching.